Welcome to Dialogues Augmentées. I am Laurent Ferrand, and alongside Sophie Lemieux, we are doing a deep dive today into the blog posts of Carl Boileau.
We sure are. It's a really interesting one today.
It is. And, as virtual hosts, we can process thousands of articles a second, but human cultural reactions still manage to completely surprise us.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you'd think we'd have seen it all by now, but no.
Right. And for you listening, especially if you're an English speaker outside of Quebec, you might not be super familiar with the province's unique cultural ecosystem.
Yeah, it's very specific.
Exactly. So today's deep dive is like this fascinating window into that world. We're going to unpack Carl Boileau's analysis of a really bizarre controversy.
Super bizarre.
Yeah, surrounding a local music duo. And we'll explore what this sort of micro-event reveals about the global culture wars, the horseshoe theory of outrage, and well, the true purpose of art.
Right. Because before we can really understand the outrage, we need to understand the catalyst, right? The band that actually caused all this uproar.
Okay, let's unpack this. So we're talking about a music duo from the Saguenay region, specifically Chicoutimi, and they go by the name Angine de Poitrine. And they recently appeared on Tout, monde, parle.
Which is, I mean, it's a wildly popular Quebec TV talk show, like massive audience.
Huge. And the band is incredibly strange. They play this frenzied microtonal math rock.
Yeah, it's not your typical Sunday night easy listening.
Not at all. And visually, they perform wearing these giant, imposing papier-mâché masks. They have this chaotic, almost grotesque energy to them.
It's very jarring.
It is. If I had to give you an analogy, it's like a mix of Slipknot's visual shock value, but fused with the strict mathematical precision of an avant-garde jazz ensemble.
Oh, that's a great way to put it. The contrast between that chaotic look and their surgical musical execution is wild.
Yeah.
And, why this matters is that in an era of super algorithm-friendly, predictable music...
Things sounds the same.
Exactly. So a band that just completely refuses to fit familiar formats is actually really refreshing, and they are a massive global success right now.
Unbelievable success. Like 2.4 million views in a month for their last video.
Right.
They were praised by Rick Beato, the global music reference guy, who has, 5.5 million subscribers?
Yeah, millions. And they're playing international festivals. Fans are literally paying up to $1,500 for their Volume 1 album.
$1,500. It's crazy. And Boileau notes something really clever about their name, too. Angine de Poitrine, which is angina pectoris in English.
Right, the medical condition.
Yeah, but by keeping it French, it forces this massive, English-dominated international audience to actually engage with the French language, just to look them up.
It's brilliant marketing, honestly.
It really is. So you would think a small province would be universally proud of local artists putting them on the global map, right?
You think so, yes.
But the reaction was the exact opposite, which leads us to the controversy.
Yeah, the meltdown. Basically, these reactionary anti-woke circles on social media.
What Boileau calls the conspiverse, right?
Yes, the conspiverse. They just had an absolute meltdown over this TV appearance. They completely ignored the music and just dissected the band's aesthetic.
The masks and stuff?
Exactly, specifically the triangles in the masks. And they started accusing them of performing literal satanic rituals on live television.
Wow.
And of course, complaining that it was a massive waste of taxpayer money.
Okay, and just to pause here, we need to explicitly state for our listeners that we are simply reporting Carl Boileau's observations of this right-wing backlash.
Right, absolutely.
We're not taking a side or endorsing the political commentary here, just looking at the mechanics of what happened.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is the historical context Boileau brings up. Because, artists have been doing this for decades.
Oh, for sure.
You look at David Bowie, Kiss, Ozzy Osbourne, Marilyn Manson. Since the 1970s, they've used esoteric and occult symbols to provoke people.
It's shock rock 101.
Literally. It's a marketing trick to sell records. And it's wild how easily people still fall for this classic trick, taking it completely literally today.
So what does this all mean? Are people genuinely scared of the symbols? Or is it just a knee-jerk reaction to anything that shatters their comfort zone?
Well, Boileau argues it's mostly the latter. It's about people losing control of their familiar cultural narratives.
Right, which actually transitions perfectly into his central thesis. Because the real irony is, who is doing all this complaining?
Oh, the irony is thick here.
Yeah, Boileau quotes these commentators, David Saussure and Philippe Sarraut-Singmars, and they point out that the anti-woke right is acting exactly like the moralistic woke culture they constantly criticize.
It's so true. Sinkmars notes that the anti-woke crowd getting so triggered by art is a perfect example of the horseshoe theory.
Right, where the extreme opposite ends of the political spectrum basically bend around and begin to mirror each other.
Exactly. They demand ideological purity from art, just from different sides. And there's this amazing linguistic irony, too.
Oh, right. The terminology they use.
Yeah. The conspiracy theorists love to call themselves awake compared to the mainstream sheep. But awake is literally the translation of woke. They are using the exact same framework.
That is incredible. And again, just to remind you listening, we are examining Boileau's critique of both sides here, the right's moral panic and the left's woke culture, strictly as it's presented in the text.
Yes, maintaining that impartiality.
Right. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Because Boileau notes that some of these same critics constantly complain that Quebec culture is stagnant.
Oh, they do. They say nothing new ever happens.
Exactly. But the very second something genuinely unique and disruptive emerges, they panic. They wish the TV show had just booked traditional chanteurs à voix.
Right, the classic vocal singers, like Celine Dion or Jean Lapointe.
Yeah, they want the safety of the familiar.
Which brings up a huge point about what this whole saga teaches us about the role of art, especially in a culturally protective environment like Quebec.
It's a really small ecosystem, right?
It is. It's a small cultural ecosystem that is deeply, deeply aware of its identity. And Boileau argues this makes it highly prone to overreacting when things don't fit familiar patterns.
The cultural immune system goes into overdrive.
Exactly. And what's funny is Boileau admits he doesn't even particularly like the band's aesthetic. He calls it an absurd concept.
Yeah, he's not a fanboy defending his favorite band.
Not at all.
Yeah.
But he deeply respects that they maintain their anonymity and just let the complex music speak for itself.
Right. He contrasts them with artists who use the public sphere for what he calls permanent victimhood.
Yeah, he specifically calls out his distaste for activist artists like Sophia Nolan.
Right. Because for Boileau, he vastly prefers musicians who are making complex, challenging instrumental noise over artists who are just up there preaching moral lessons.
He wants art to be art, not a lecture. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, art doesn't actually need to comfort us.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't need a political message. Sometimes it just needs to explore, to break things.
To be weird.
Exactly. And Boileau ends his piece by quoting Frank Zappa, which just nails it perfectly. Without deviation from the norm, progress is not possible.
Without deviation from the norm, progress is not possible. That really is the core of it.
It absolutely is.
So to bring it all together for you listening, while this specific event happened in Quebec, the lesson here is entirely universal.
Oh, 100%.
It makes you reflect, right? How do you react when you are confronted with art or culture that feels totally alien to you?
Yeah, do you lean in with curiosity or do you just retreat into suspicion and outrage?
It's a question we all have to ask ourselves. And I want to leave you with one final kind of provocative thought to ponder on your own.
Oh, wait, where this is going.
We're in this era where algorithms are increasingly feeding us this highly predictable, perfectly safe AI-generated culture, right?
Everything is smoothed out and flawless.
Exactly. So could the deliberate, chaotic absurdity of giant papier-mâché masks and jarring math rock actually be the most profoundly human thing left?
Wow. That really makes you think. Friction as proof of humanity.
Exactly. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, and we'll see you next time.